The story begins on a night filled with bright hospital lights, quiet prayers, and powerful expectations. One of the most expensive private hospitals in the city was prepared for a very special birth. Nurses moved quickly, doctors checked machines again and again, and security stood outside the doors. Inside, a billionaire waited for his first son to be born. He was a man known around the world, respected for his business empire, feared by competitors, and admired for his success. He owned skyscrapers, private jets, and companies in many countries. To him, life had always followed one rule: money could fix everything. When the baby was finally born, his cry filled the room. For a few seconds, happiness took over. The billionaire smiled, his wife cried with joy, and the doctors congratulated them. It felt like a perfect moment. A healthy baby boy, born into a life of luxury and power. But that happiness did not last long. As the doctors began their routine checks, something felt wrong. Their faces slowly changed. The room, once full of celebration, became silent. One doctor carefully explained that the baby was not responding to light. They tried again and then again. The result was the same. The baby was born blind. There was no infection, no injury, no mistake during birth. His eyes were physically perfect, but he could not see. The words fell heavy in the room. The billionaire felt like the ground disappeared beneath his feet. He had faced business losses, legal battles, and global crises, but nothing had ever prepared him for this moment. His wife held the baby close, crying softly, while the billionaire stood still, unable to speak. The doctors continued talking, explaining medical terms and possible causes, but the words felt distant. All the billionaire could think was one question: how could this happen to his son? He had the best doctors, the best hospital, and unlimited money. Blindness was something that happened to other people, not to his family. Soon, specialists were called in. More tests were done. The answer did not change. The baby's blindness was real and permanent, at least according to modern medicine. Some doctors spoke gently, others honestly, telling him not to expect miracles. But the billionaire refused to accept it. In his world, impossible things became possible with enough money and power. From that very night, he made a silent promise to himself. He would not rest until his son could see. He would bring doctors from any country, buy the latest technology, and fund any research needed. His son would not grow up in darkness. That promise became his new mission. As days passed, the news spread quietly among close family and trusted staff. The billionaire ordered secrecy. He did not want the world to know that his perfect life had a crack. Inside the large mansion, everything changed. New rooms were prepared for the baby, filled with special sounds, soft textures, and caring nurses. The child was surrounded by love, but also by sadness that no one spoke about openly. When the billionaire held his son, he felt a strange mix of emotions. He loved the child deeply, yet he felt guilt, anger, and fear. He wondered if his busy life, his ambition, or his past decisions had caused this. For the first time, he felt helpless. His money could buy comfort, but it could not buy certainty. Late at night, when everyone slept, he would sit alone, listening to his son breathe. He imagined what life would be like for a blind child, even a rich one. Would his son feel different? Would he feel lonely? Would the world be kind to him? These thoughts scared the billionaire more than any business risk ever had. The powerful beginning of this story is not about wealth or success. It is about a man who had everything, facing the one thing he could not control. It is about a child born into riches, yet missing the most basic human experience. From this moment, the story moves forward with hope, pain, and the belief that destiny sometimes chooses the most unexpected paths. This night, marked by joy and sorrow, becomes the foundation of everything that follows. The birth of a blind child changes a powerful family forever, setting the stage for a journey that will challenge faith, test humanity, and open the door to something no one could have imagined. After the doctors confirmed the truth, the billionaire refused to accept it as the final answer. In his mind, blindness was not destiny. It was a problem waiting to be solved. As soon as his son was brought home from the hospital, the mansion turned into something like a medical center. New machines arrived, special nurses were hired, and doctors came and went every day. The billionaire believed that if the best minds in the world worked together, they would surely find a way. Within weeks, he contacted famous eye specialists from different countries. Some arrived from Europe, some from America, and some from Asia. Private jets were sent just to bring them. Each doctor examined the child carefully, using the latest technology, bright lights, and complex tests. Every time, the billionaire waited with hope in his eyes. And every time, the result was the same. The boy's eyes were healthy, but his vision did not exist. The doctors spoke politely and with respect, but their message slowly became clearer. Money could not change everything. Some suggested experimental treatments, others talked about future research, and a few gently advised the family to accept reality. Those words made the billionaire angry. He paid them and sent them away, refusing to believe that the door was closed. As months passed, the billionaire spent millions, then billions. He funded research labs, donated to hospitals, and sponsored new studies, all with one goal. His son must see. Scientists promised hope, investors promised innovation, but nothing brought real results. Time moved forward, but the darkness in his son's world remained the same. The boy grew from a baby into a toddler. He learned the world through touch and sound. He smiled when he heard his parents' voices and laughed when music played. To everyone else, he seemed happy. But the billionaire noticed small things that hurt deeply. The boy reached for objects he could not see. He turned his head toward sounds instead of sights. These moments reminded the father again and again of what his son lacked. At night, the billionaire sat in his office, staring at screens filled with medical reports. Numbers, charts, and scientific words surrounded him, yet none of them gave him peace. He had built companies from nothing, defeated powerful rivals, and survived crises that destroyed others. But now, he felt smaller than ever. For the first time, money felt useless. His wife tried to comfort him. She told him their son was alive, healthy, and full of love. She believed they should focus on giving him a good life instead of chasing impossible dreams. But the billionaire could not let go. Accepting blindness felt like surrender, and surrender was something he had never done. The pressure also affected the house. Staff whispered quietly. Doctors avoided eye contact. The home that once felt powerful now felt heavy. Even celebrations felt empty. The billionaire smiled in public, but inside he carried constant frustration and fear. What kind of future would his son have? Would people treat him differently? Would he be safe without his father one day? As the boy grew older, the billionaire noticed something else. His son was intelligent. He remembered voices easily and learned routes inside the house faster than expected. He asked questions about sounds and shapes. This intelligence gave the father a small sense of pride, but it also made him sad. He wondered how much more his son could become if he could see the world. Doctors slowly stopped offering new ideas. Calls became less frequent. Promises turned into silence. One doctor finally said the words the billionaire hated the most. Sometimes, he said, life chooses a different path. That sentence stayed in the billionaire's mind. He realized that for the first time in his life, he was fighting something that could not be bought, controlled, or forced. Part 2 of this journey shows a powerful man learning a painful lesson. Money can open many doors, but not all. And sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones where no enemy can be seen. As the years passed, the billionaire's mansion remained grand and beautiful from the outside. But inside, it slowly became a quiet and lonely place for the boy. He grew up surrounded by expensive toys, soft carpets, and caring staff. Yet something important was missing. He could hear laughter, footsteps, and music, but he could not see faces, colors, or light. For him, the world was built from sounds and touches, not images. The boy learned early that he was different. When other children visited, they ran around chasing each other, pointing at things and laughing at what they saw. He stayed still, listening. Sometimes he smiled, sometimes he felt left out. No one said it clearly, but he understood that his life was not the same as theirs. This understanding made him quiet and thoughtful beyond his age. The billionaire tried to give his son everything possible. He hired the best teachers, special trainers, and private therapists. They taught the boy how to walk confidently, how to recognize people by voice, and how to remember spaces. The child learned quickly. He impressed everyone with his sharp memory and calm nature. But each small success reminded the father of a bigger loss. Intelligence could not replace sight. Inside the mansion, the boy often wandered slowly, counting his steps and touching the walls. He memorized every corner of the house. The garden became his favorite place. He could not see the flowers, but he loved their smell. He listened to birds and felt the warmth of the sun on his face. Sometimes he asked his father simple questions that felt like sharp knives to the heart. What does the sky look like? What color is my mother's dress? The billionaire answered gently, but every answer hurt him deeply. He realized his son was building pictures in his mind from words alone. These moments made the father feel proud and broken at the same time. The boy's loneliness grew as he got older. Surrounded by people, he still felt alone. Many treated him carefully, as if he were fragile. Others spoke loudly or slowly, thinking he could not understand. He hated that feeling. He wanted to be normal, to run freely, to look at his father's face and know his expressions. At night, the boy often sat by his window, listening to the city sounds far away. Cars, voices, wind, and rain created stories in his mind. He imagined the world outside, colorful and alive. Sometimes he wondered if darkness was all life had planned for him. These thoughts made him quiet and serious, even as a child. The billionaire watched all of this silently. In public, he remained powerful and confident. In private, he felt constant guilt. He blamed himself for not protecting his son from this fate. He blamed his ambition, his past, and even his success. No amount of money could remove the pain he saw in his child's small questions and silent moments. The relationship between father and son became deep but heavy. The father loved him more than anything, yet he did not know how to heal him. He often avoided eye contact, not because he did not care, but because he felt ashamed. The son sensed this distance, but did not understand it fully. Despite everything, the boy developed a strong heart. He learned patience, kindness, and empathy. He listened carefully to people's emotions in their voices. He comforted others without seeing their tears. His blindness, though painful, gave him a different kind of strength. Part 3 of his story shows a life filled with quiet struggles. A child growing up rich but incomplete. A father powerful in the world but helpless at home. Behind the luxury and comfort, there was a deep loneliness that no one talked about. This silent pain prepared the ground for something unexpected, something that would soon enter their lives and change everything forever. Life inside the mansion continued in its quiet, careful way, until one ordinary day brought someone completely unexpected into their world. It was a morning like many others. The billionaire's staff was busy with their daily routines. Guards stood at the gates, and the house felt protected from everything outside. No one imagined that a small moment of kindness would open the door to a new chapter. That day, the billionaire's car stopped near a busy street market after a long meeting. As he stepped out, he noticed a small crowd nearby. People were gathered around a young, poor girl, maybe 12 or 13 years old. Her clothes were old, her shoes worn out, and her face covered with dust from the road. She was selling small handmade items, trying to earn money for her family. Most people ignored her. Some pushed past her, but she stood quietly, holding her basket. The billionaire was not a man who usually noticed such things. His life moved too fast for small details. But something about the girl caught his attention. She was calm, not begging, not shouting, just waiting. When their eyes met, she did not look away. There was no fear in her eyes, only confidence and patience. This surprised him. Before he could think much, his son's voice echoed in his mind. He remembered how his child listened carefully to the world, how he understood people without seeing them. Something softened inside the billionaire. He asked his assistant to buy everything the girl was selling. When the assistant offered money, the girl thanked them politely, but she said something unexpected. "Sir," she said softly, "I don't want charity. I want respect. Please take these items because you like them, not because you feel sorry for me." Her words shocked everyone. The billionaire looked at her again, this time more carefully. There was strength in her voice, far beyond her age. He nodded and accepted her words. Before leaving, he asked her name and where she lived. She answered honestly, without hesitation. A few days later, the billionaire remembered the girl. He asked his staff to find her and offer her a small job inside the mansion. Not as a servant, but to help in the garden and deliver things, something simple. When she arrived, she looked around with curiosity, but not excitement. The size of the house did not impress her. She walked calmly, as if she had seen grand places before, which was strange for someone so poor. The first time she met the blind boy, something unusual happened. The boy turned his head toward her immediately. He smiled. "You are different," he said. "Your footsteps sound calm." The girl smiled back. She spoke to him normally, not slowly, not loudly. She did not treat him like he was weak or broken. She talked to him like a friend. This made the boy happy in a way his father had not seen before. Over the next few days, the girl spent more time around the boy. She told him stories, described the sky, the trees, and the people outside. But she did not exaggerate or lie. Her descriptions felt real. The boy listened closely, asking questions, laughing, and sometimes sitting quietly, lost in thought. The billionaire watched from a distance. Something about the girl felt unusual. She was poor, yet confident. Young, yet wise. Simple, yet carrying a strange, calm energy. Sometimes he noticed a small object tied around her neck, hidden under her clothes. She touched it gently whenever she felt emotional, as if it gave her strength. One evening, the billionaire asked her about her life. She spoke openly about her struggles, her sick mother, and her belief that life had a purpose, even in pain. When he asked where she learned such thoughts, she smiled and said, "From people who had nothing but hope." Before leaving that day, she looked at the blind boy and said something quietly, almost like a promise. "Some darkness is not forever." Those words stayed in the billionaire's mind all night. He did not understand why, but he felt that this poor girl was not just another visitor in their lives. She had arrived for a reason, and with her came a feeling that something impossible might soon begin. As days passed, the poor girl became a familiar presence inside the mansion. She never tried to take more than what was offered, never asked for favors, and never showed fear of the powerful people around her. Yet everyone noticed her. There was something quiet but strong about her, something that did not match her simple clothes or poor background. She moved through the large halls as if she belonged there, not because of wealth, but because of confidence. The blind boy grew closer to her each day. He waited for her footsteps, recognized her voice instantly, and smiled more when she was around. He spoke more, laughed more, and even asked fewer painful questions. The billionaire noticed this change and felt both grateful and curious. How could a simple girl do what money and experts could not? One afternoon, while sitting with the boy in the garden, the girl spoke in a serious tone. She asked him if he believed in hope. The boy paused and answered honestly. He said hope was something he felt but could not fully understand. She nodded slowly, as if she expected that answer. Later that evening, the billionaire invited the girl to his study. He wanted to understand her better. He asked her where she came from, what she believed in, and why she spoke with such certainty. The girl listened quietly, then told him a story about her grandmother. She said her grandmother believed some things could not be explained by science or money. She believed in faith, timing, and purpose. As she spoke, she slowly reached under her shirt and pulled out a small object tied with a thin string. It was old, smooth, and carefully wrapped in cloth. The billionaire's eyes fixed on it. The room felt suddenly still. The girl held the object with respect, not showing it fully. She said her grandmother gave it to her before passing away. It had been in their family for generations. According to her grandmother, it had helped someone once when everything else failed. The girl did not call it magic. She called it hope. The billionaire felt uncomfortable. Years of business experience taught him to trust logic and proof. He had been surrounded by fake healers and false promises before. His voice became firm as he asked her if she was trying to trick him. The girl did not get angry. She calmly said she understood his doubt. She explained that she did not come to the mansion to offer miracles. She came because she felt drawn to the boy's pain. She said when she first met him, she felt something strong in her heart, as if their paths were meant to cross. She said the object was not powerful by itself. It only worked, she believed, when kindness and faith came together. The billionaire leaned back in his chair, confused and conflicted. He had spent his life trusting data, contracts, and results. What she was offering had none of those things. Still, he could not ignore the change he had seen in his son. For the first time, someone spoke about his child's blindness without fear or pity. Doctors were invited again. When the girl spoke about the object, some laughed quietly, others shook their heads. They said there was no scientific reason to believe such a thing could help. The billionaire felt embarrassed. He wondered if he had allowed desperation to weaken his judgment. That night, he stood by his son's bed, listening to his calm breathing. The boy whispered something that made his heart stop. "Father," he said, "I trust her." Those words broke something inside the billionaire. His son, who had faced darkness all his life, still believed. The billionaire realized that while he had lost faith, his child had not. The next day, the girl approached the billionaire with one request. She asked for one chance. Just one moment. No promises, no guarantees. If nothing happened, she would leave and never return. The room felt heavy with silence. The billionaire looked at the object again, then at his son's peaceful face. He knew this choice could bring hope or heartbreak. Part 5 ends at the edge of decision, where logic and belief stand face to face, and the impossible waits quietly for permission to begin. The moment finally arrived, heavy with tension and quiet fear. The billionaire agreed to give the girl one chance, but he did so with a heart full of doubt and desperation. He ordered everyone to leave the room except himself, his son, the girl, and one trusted doctor. The large room felt smaller than ever, filled with silence and waiting. Even the air seemed still. The boy sat calmly on the bed. He was not nervous. In fact, he seemed strangely peaceful, as if he already knew something important was about to happen. He held his father's hand tightly. The billionaire felt his son's warm fingers and realized how much he was afraid to lose hope again. This moment could either heal his heart or break it completely. The girl stood near the window for a few seconds, closing her eyes. She took a deep breath, as if preparing herself. Then she slowly walked toward the boy. From under her shirt, she gently pulled out the mysterious object. This time, she fully unwrapped it. It was small, smooth, and old, with strange symbols carved into its surface. No one in the room had ever seen anything like it before. The doctor watched closely, ready to step in if needed. His face showed doubt, but also curiosity. The billionaire's mind raced with questions. What if this was all false hope? What if his son got hurt emotionally? Yet he did not stop it. Somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice told him to let this moment happen. The girl knelt in front of the boy and spoke softly. She told him not to be afraid. She said whatever happened, he was strong and loved. She placed the object gently into his hands. The boy touched it slowly, carefully feeling its shape and texture. His face changed slightly, as if he sensed something unusual. The girl then placed her hand over his and whispered words no one else could clearly hear. They were not loud or dramatic. They sounded simple, almost like a prayer. The room remained silent. Seconds passed. Nothing happened. The billionaire felt his chest tighten. He looked at the doctor, who gave a small shake of his head. Disappointment began to rise like a wave. Maybe this was another false promise. Maybe hope had fooled him again. Then suddenly, the boy's breathing changed. His fingers tightened around the object. His face showed confusion, then shock. He blinked rapidly, again and again. The billionaire leaned forward, his heart beating fast. "Father," the boy whispered, his voice shaking, "there is light." Those two words froze everyone. The doctor stepped closer, his eyes wide. The boy blinked again. Tears filled his eyes. "I see something," he said softly. "It's not clear, but it's there. The billionaire felt his legs weaken. He grabbed the edge of the bed to steady himself. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. The doctor immediately began checking the boy's eyes, shining a light carefully, testing reactions. What he saw made no sense. The boy was responding. His pupils were reacting. The girl stepped back quietly, her face pale but calm. She said nothing. She simply watched. The boy began to cry, not from pain, but from emotion. He lifted his hands, staring at them in amazement. "Father," he said again, louder this time, "I can see your shape." The billionaire could not hold himself together anymore. Tears streamed down his face as he fell to his knees. Years of pain, guilt, and helplessness crashed over him at once. Doctors rushed in after hearing the noise. The room filled with voices, disbelief, and shock. Tests were done immediately. Machines confirmed what should not have been possible. Vision was returning. Slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably. Part 6 marks the moment when logic failed and the impossible stepped forward. It was the moment that changed everything. A poor girl, a mysterious object, and a blind child crossed a line that science could not explain. And nothing would ever be the same again. The hours that followed felt unreal, as if time itself had lost its meaning. Doctors filled the room, speaking quickly, checking machines, and repeating tests again and again. Every result pointed to the same truth. The boy's vision was returning. Slowly, but clearly. For a family that had lived in darkness for years, the light felt overwhelming. The billionaire stood quietly in a corner, watching his son with shaking hands. He was afraid to speak, afraid to breathe too loudly, as if one wrong move might make this miracle disappear. His powerful voice, once feared in boardrooms, now felt small and broken. Tears continued to fall, but he did not wipe them away. The boy sat on the bed, his eyes wide open. He looked around slowly, taking in shapes, shadows, and colors for the first time. Everything amazed him. The white walls, the bright lights, the faces around him. He stared at his father for a long moment, then smiled. "So this is you," he said softly. "I imagined you taller." Laughter and tears filled the room at the same time. Doctors exchanged shocked looks. Some whispered that this should not be possible. Others refused to speak at all. Medical reports were written, calls were made, and experts were contacted. No one could explain what had happened. In the middle of the chaos, the poor girl remained silent. She stood near the door, her job finished. The billionaire finally noticed her absence from the center of attention. He walked toward her slowly, his eyes full of gratitude and confusion. He wanted answers. He wanted explanations. But most of all, he wanted to thank her. Before he could speak, she gently stopped him. She said this moment was not about her. She reminded him that the boy's strength, patience, and belief mattered more than any object. She said miracles did not belong to people. They belonged to moments. As the truth spread, the billionaire's world changed completely. News began to leak, despite his attempts to keep it private. Doctors spoke carefully, avoiding direct explanations. The media searched for answers. Some called it medical mystery. Others called it divine intervention. The billionaire did not argue. He no longer felt the need to control the story. Instead, he focused on his son. He walked with him in the garden, letting him touch leaves while also seeing their colors. The boy laughed loudly, amazed by butterflies, shadows, and reflections. Simple things felt magical. The billionaire realized how much of life he had taken for granted. One night, the boy asked to hear the girl's voice again, but she was gone. She had left quietly, without money, without fame, without asking for anything. Only a small note remained. It said she was grateful for the chance to help and hoped the boy would live with kindness and courage. The billionaire searched for her. He sent people to find her village, her family, her story. But she had disappeared, as if she was never meant to stay. This deepened the mystery, but it also taught him something powerful. True kindness did not need rewards. Inside the billionaire, a transformation had begun. His pride softened. His anger faded. He began to question the way he lived before. He realized that while wealth had built his empire, it had not built his heart. The experience humbled him in ways no loss ever had. Doctors continued to study the boy's recovery. His vision improved day by day. Science still struggled to explain it, but the results were real. The boy returned to school, now seeing the world he once only imagined. He remained kind, patient, and thoughtful, shaped by years of darkness. Part 7 reveals the true cost and gift of the impossible. Shock turned into reflection. Miracle turned into responsibility. A blind boy gained sight, but a powerful man gained wisdom. And somewhere beyond the mansion walls, a poor girl walked away, leaving behind a light that would never fade. Time moved forward, but nothing in the billionaire's life ever returned to how it was before. The miracle did not end with the boy opening his eyes. It continued quietly, day by day, changing hearts, choices, and futures. The mansion that once felt heavy with silence now echoed with laughter, footsteps, and wonder. Light did not only enter the boy's eyes. It entered the entire household. The boy learned to see the world slowly. At first, colors confused him. Shapes felt strange. Faces took time to understand. But he was patient. Years of blindness had taught him how to wait, how to observe deeply, and how to appreciate small progress. Every morning felt like a gift. Every sunrise amazed him. He often stood by the window, watching the sky change colors, something he had once only imagined through words. The billionaire walked beside him during this journey, not in front, not behind. For the first time in his life, he slowed down. Meetings were canceled. Deals were delayed. Nothing felt more important than watching his son discover life. He listened more. He spoke less. Power no longer defined him. Gratitude did. One evening, while sitting in the garden, the boy asked his father a question that stayed with him forever. He asked why the poor girl had helped them without asking for anything in return. The billionaire struggled to answer. Finally, he admitted the truth. He said some people are rich in ways money cannot touch. The boy smiled, understanding more than his father expected. The billionaire made a decision that night. Quietly, without announcements, he started funding schools for blind children, not as charity, but as opportunity. He built centers where children could learn skills, confidence, and independence. He did not put his name on the buildings. He remembered the girl's words about respect, not pity. As for the mysterious object, it was never found again. After that day, it disappeared with the girl. Doctors asked questions. Scientists wanted studies. The billionaire refused. Some things, he believed, were not meant to be owned or explained. They were meant to be experienced, then released. The boy grew into a young man with a rare balance of strength and softness. He never forgot the years of darkness. He treated people gently, listened deeply, and valued inner beauty more than appearances. He often volunteered at the very centers his father supported, speaking to children who reminded him of himself. Sometimes, late at night, the billionaire thought about the girl. He wondered where she was, what life she lived now, and whether she knew how deeply she had changed their world. He hoped she was safe. He hoped she was happy. In his heart, she remained a quiet guardian of destiny. The story ends not with fame or celebration, but with transformation. A blind child learned to see, a powerful man learned humility, and a poor girl proved that the greatest miracles often come from hands the world overlooks. Part 8 closes the journey with a simple truth. Wealth can build empires, but kindness can rebuild souls. And sometimes the impossible does not arrive loudly. It arrives softly, does its work, and leaves behind a better world.